And I was about to spar, before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy.
A heavyweight.
Heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga, he hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this.
To keep the speed, Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and, you know, have the lean muscle right.
Recently leaked training footage has stunned fans, showing Gervonta Tank Davis reportedly flooring a much larger sparring partner while gearing up for his showdown with Jake Paul. The clip highlights Davis's trademark explosiveness and perfect timing, as a thunderous left hand brings the session to an abrupt end. Supporters are taking it as solid proof that Tank's blend of speed, accuracy, and power is still on another level, even when facing heavier fighters. Commentator Showbiz, the adult, predicts Davis will likely enter the ring near 154 pounds. Brushing off any talk that size will be an issue. He notes that Davis has fought and trained around that range before, so the weight won't be foreign territory. In fact, he points out that Tank has even done work at about 160 pounds, making this jump less dramatic than critics claim. Showbiz further explains that Davis has spent years sharpening his timing, reflexes, and counterpunching against bigger sparring partners, giving him a tactical edge. Combined with his explosive power and elite fight IQ, that experience makes him the clear favorite in this matchup. In his closing thoughts, Showbiz confidently predicts that Jake Paul's size won't be enough to protect him once Davis connects clean, boldly stating that Tank is on track to deliver a knockout victory with ease. Reports suggest that Tank has been training with fighters much bigger than himself ahead of his upcoming clash with Jake Paul. But for Gervonta Davis, that's nothing unusual. Since the early days of his career, he's regularly challenged heavier sparring partners to fine-tune his accuracy, timing, and ring awareness. Thanks to his exceptional power and sharp fight IQ, going up against larger opponents has never fazed him.
Dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pit stop at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there, especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have this guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base solid enough, so when Jake Paul hits him with those shots, he doesn't go flying around the ring.
In his newest training footage, Gervonta Davis appears sharper, leaner, and more dialed in than ever. Every punch he throws blends accuracy with explosive power, the kind of balance only years of focus can create. His footwork glides lightly, yet every movement carries command and confidence. It's clear to anyone watching that each strike against the heavy bag follows a deliberate rhythm, not random motion. Viewers can see the intensity in his expression and the seamless connection between speed and strength. The clips alone reveal how locked in Davis is for this matchup. Analysts throughout the boxing world note that his conditioning looks the best it has in years, calling him battle-ready. The mix of power, precision, and ring control he's showing in camp has reignited talk about just how dangerous he still is at the sport's top tier. Heading into the fight, one major debate centers on weight. Some think Jake Paul's natural size gives him the upper hand, while others believe Davis's refined skill set will neutralize that advantage. Fans question whether the size gap could pose a problem, but longtime followers know Tank has repeatedly trained and sparred with bigger men. Supporters insist that boxing isn't ruled by size. It's shaped by timing, discipline, and ring IQ. Davis's defense and counterpunching make him a nightmare for opponents of any build. His camp remains convinced that his experience under pressure and ability to read movement will let him turn Jake Paul's size into a weakness. For Davis, this battle isn't about proving brute strength. It's about proving mastery. Lamont Roach hasn't held back when speaking about Gervonta Davis, hinting at lingering tension between the two. His recent comments have sparked buzz across the boxing scene, with many noticing a touch of resentment in his delivery. Analysts suggest that Roach's irritation may have less to do with real disputes and more to do with Tank's rising fame and financial success. The pair once appeared to share mutual respect, but Roach's tone now feels more personal than professional. Observers believe he finds it difficult to watch Davis dominate the spotlight and secure headline paydays while others stay in his shadow. Commentators note that once wealth and recognition come into play, rivalries often turn emotional. Davis, on the other hand, remains unfazed. He avoids the drama, stays locked into his training, and lets his performances inside the ring speak for themselves.
Is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on the...
Many boxing analysts believe Gervonta Davis still doesn't receive the full recognition he deserves. They point out that his opponents often gain fame after stepping into the ring with him, proof of the influence and reach he commands in the sport. Fighters, who were once barely known, suddenly find themselves in the global spotlight, simply because they shared rounds with Tank. This recurring trend underscores Davis's star power and his ability to elevate the profile of anyone he faces. Critics who question the strength of his opposition often overlook this reality that being part of a Davis fight can reshape a boxer's career. Experts add that his victories represent more than just knockout power. They show that Davis carries the weight of modern boxing's attention every time he fights.
The question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's going to make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in the situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. That opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know they actually exercise his rights to the rematch, so that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that. unless you do what you have to do to handle the business to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on and or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit here and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money. And
Stephen Fulton recently came to Gervonta Davis's defense amid criticism that he fights only for money. Fulton pointed out that every boxer deserves the right to secure their future after years of putting their body and health on the line. He reminded fans that Tank has already proven himself, winning world titles and delivering unforgettable performances. So pursuing big name bouts at this stage is completely fair. Fulton argued that fighters should be allowed to balance their legacy with financial stability, especially in a sport where a single punch can end a career. His comments highlighted that Davis has already earned the privilege to make decisions that serve him both professionally and personally. Support from a respected peer like Fulton strengthened the view that Tank's choices stem from maturity and strategy, not greed.
Ongoing discussion in the boxing world about Gervonta Davis and Gervonta Davis, his resume, who he's going to fight, the competitors that he's going to fight. And every once in a while, something happens that proves that Gervonta Davis is the face of that. If he's not the face of boxing because people just don't want him to be that, man, he is real close to it, because other than Canelo Alvarez, and even consider Canelo Alvarez included, nobody in boxing has divisions circulating around him like Gervonta Davis does. And that was proved during this Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz announcement for their pay-per-view. Just think about this. Gervonta Davis, they always say that Gervonta Davis has a poor resume, but yet Gervonta Davis, guys that fight Gervonta Davis, lose to Gervonta Davis, or get a draw to Gervonta Davis, can fight one another and make an anticipated pay-per-view between the two of them, because that fight with Pitbull Cruz is a very, very popular fighter with Mexican fight fans. Lamont Roach got a lot of name exposure with black fight fans and Mexican fight fans and white fight fans, all with his draw that he got against Gervonta Davis. Now they believe that this is going to be able to be a profitable endeavor for a pay-per-view. Now let me also tell you that Rolly Romero, who was somebody else that Gervonta Davis fought in the past, will be on a pay-per-view that's going to be successful, most likely, when he defends his WBC.
Analyst Luke Thomas offered a different perspective on Gervonta Davis's mindset going into the fight. While he acknowledged Tank's trademark knockout power and polished technique, Thomas sensed a change in his demeanor. In recent interviews and appearances, Davis appeared unusually composed, calm to the point of seeming detached, lacking the fiery intensity he's known for before major bouts. Thomas suggested that perhaps Davis views this matchup more as a business move than a true competitive test. He speculated that the spectacle surrounding Jake Paul might be what really captured Tank's attention, rather than the challenge itself. Still, Thomas conceded that even if Davis isn't fully fueled by motivation, his raw skill and veteran experience make him a threat few opponents can handle.
Body in that position would have taken that fight. Yeah. Especially with the payout. Yeah. It's like, that's a no-brainer, but I understand. I still feel for Lamont. That's my boy. Like, he still want his rematch. But then when you be realistic about the money situation, you're changing your whole family life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people hate on it because they're not in that position. I'm not saying Lamont, I'm speaking like other boxers. Be like, oh, he this for that. He's this. It's a side quest. It's a little side quest. Because what happened when Floyd and all these guys went on WWE, but then they get right back to what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's another little side quest. I'm all for people just getting their money. So get the best, make the most that you can out of this entertainment world. Because, I mean, I don't know. I would have done it. As far as the money aspect, because none of us would deny that money. They talking like they would, none of them.
Even though some see this matchup as a money-driven spectacle, others view it as a deeply personal statement from Gervonta Davis. He's not stepping into the ring just for attention. He's stepping in to prove that true fighters can command any stage, whether it's the boxing ring or the social media spotlight. A victory here wouldn't just add to his legacy, it would reinforce the idea that skill, discipline, and authenticity still outweigh viral fame. Davis understands that this fight draws both hardcore boxing fans and casual viewers from Jake Paul's massive following. For him, it's a chance to bring the focus back to real competition and the spirit of the sport. If he wins convincingly, it will serve as a powerful reminder that genuine talent always rises above manufactured celebrity.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite, and so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and dude, even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, and he was wasn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and you're left with that. So you're making a point about he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my...
Charleston White, never shy about speaking his mind, has shared a blunt take on Jake Paul, making it clear he sees Jake more as an entertainer than a true boxer. In White's eyes, once Paul steps into the ring with Gervonta "Tank" Davis, the gap between an influencer and a world-class champion will be impossible to ignore. He explained that Davis's sharp reflexes, precise timing, and years of experience against elite opponents will expose Paul's limited depth in real boxing. White emphasized that fame may attract crowds, but it can't substitute for genuine skill earned through years of hard competition. According to him, true fighters build their legacy in the toughest arenas, not through exhibition bouts or online hype. His unfiltered comments echo what many boxing purists believe, that Tank operates on a level Jake Paul has never reached. And when the two finally meet, White predicts that Davis will make that difference painfully clear inside the ring.
Davis in this particular in the press conference, and you can just look at him and tell, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash, like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault. And what he said was, look, man, do not pick against Jake Paul, because he didn't believe that any of the fights that Jake Paul have had to date really have been a real thing. And that the boxing world is looking for that great WHITE hype. And Jake Paul is going to be that guy, even though he really can't do it in a real boxing match. So he was basically reflecting and saying that he, you know, the saying where they say, believe a half of what you hear, half of what you see, and none of what you hear. He adjusted it to say, don't believe anything you hear and anything you say, anything that you hear and anything that you see. And honestly, man, when it comes to internet boxing, YouTube boxing, and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out. And ultimately, everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.